Thank you so much for coming. This is Redwood City. It's probably a little out of the way for many of you here, so I'm really happy you showed up. And we'll keep getting people walking in and leaving. It's lunch hour, I know how it is, so feel free to go out, get some lunch, come back, whatever works for you. We'll keep the whole talk very casual. This is about a topic that came up when I was talking to YC's new publication called The Macro. And we'd written an interview and a piece, and Startup Grind reached out and said, why don't you come talk about this? This looks like a topic that a lot of founders want to talk about but have no idea, or there's no outlet or way to go express. And so we said, okay, why not? Let's go do a small talk and see how it goes. So a lot of this is going to be, if it's useful, we can follow up, and I have my information afterwards, my email, Twitter, all of that. Feel free to reach out to me after the fact. It's only about 20 minutes, and I'll keep it as casual and simple as possible. How many of you here are founders or looking to start companies? Show of hands, please. Wow, that's a lot of you here. Okay, so I was a little worried that this might not be super relevant, but I'm really happy that a lot of you here are entrepreneurs or want to start companies in the future. So this could be pretty useful. My name is Aarthi Ramamurthy. I know it's a mouthful. I started this company called Lumoid. We'll talk about what Lumoid is. Lumoid is a try before you buy service for gadgets, for consumer electronics. Every time, say you're going on vacation or you're looking to test drive the latest, greatest wearable like an Apple Watch, and you're not really sure which one you want to buy, you don't want to go to a physical retail store. If you're buying it online, you don't want to buy a bunch and then return half of them or keep one. We make that possible for you to test drive a device or a bunch of devices, and you can try it for however you want, long you want. And if you like it, you can keep it, or we'll send you a brand new item, ship the rest of it back, and that's basically what it does. It's a new form of retail. We've been doing this for a little over 2 years. We graduated from Y Combinator, and we've been building and scaling the business as we grow. We're based in San Francisco. We just opened an office in New York. We ship all over the US. Even if you're going to, say, Hawaii or Alaska, we'll drop ship directly to the hotels there and destinations there. My background, I'm an engineer. I'm a software engineer by background. I worked at Microsoft for about 6 years, worked at Xbox, a bunch of other teams. And then I worked at Netflix to go work on the software, the movie streaming software that goes into TVs and phones and Blu-ray players and set-top boxes. So that's kind of where I started thinking about consumer electronics and hardware. And I'm sure you're seeing this too, where today hardware is more or less becoming a commodity, where you're seeing Kickstarter, you're seeing Indiegogo. There are a lot of channels to go manufacture and put the gadget that you've manufactured out there. The costs have come down quite a bit, but marketing and putting it on retail shelves is still a massive problem. And so that's really where Lumoid comes in. And the topic that I want to cover today, and it's something that not everyone is comfortable talking about, or it's one of those topics where it's like, yeah, you take it for granted, but then when you talk in like founder groups or in private, you're like, yeah, this is kind of a big deal. So self-doubt, how much of this is valid? How much of founder self-doubt is something that you need to watch out for or worry about? What do you do about it? That's really what we're going to cover today. Here's something that everyone is aware of, but nobody ever wants to talk about. Self-doubt is real. It's something that every founder goes through. They just don't want to talk about it. Every time when you start a new venture, a new small startup, a new idea that you had, you're sitting in your garage, you're working on it, you're writing code on it, you're not really sure if it's going to work or it's not, whether it's just going to be a total disaster. And you also don't know if you will see rejections on a daily basis. You will see investors turning you down, your coworkers from your previous companies who don't really want to join you because they're like, well, good luck, this is great, but I'm not going to be in this. Or you're going to see your friends, your own family being like, well, why don't you go get a real job? You're seeing a lot of that, right? And this is real. This is how the nature of things are. This is how founders deal with things. And I want to tell you, if there is one takeaway for you from this whole 20 minutes, self-doubt is real. There are ways for you to combat it. There are ways for you to embrace it. But understand that this is totally the norm. How do you go tackle something like self-doubt? We want to talk about a few approaches here. One is you embrace it, you understand this is how it is, but work towards a metric or a goal, something that's measurable for you, where whether it is for you, it is site traffic. Let's say you're building a news website and you want to see a particular number of uniques coming to your site. Maybe that. Maybe it's another specific goal. Maybe it's an investment. Maybe it's that first hire who you've always wanted. Find a goal, set that in stone, and start working towards it. If you don't, then you're going to be in this fuzzy world of, I'm not sure what I'm doing, I'm not sure if I'm moving forward, I'm not really sure what's happening, and nobody else can validate it for you. And the hardest thing about being a founder, for me at least, is you need to be confident about what you're selling. You need to be confident about your product. If you are not confident about it, how do you go sell and pitch and convince other people to join you, or get people to go invest in you, or scale the business? Like, every other thing depends on confidence and you being out there and saying, well, this is absolutely going to work. But if you are not convinced yourself, how are you going to make that happen? So find a specific set of goals, find some metrics for you, and it depends on your business, it depends on your idea, it depends on where you are, what scale you're building it at, but find ways for you to find goals and get to it. Measure everything, measure what you have, whether it is unique to your site. For us, it's like customers, orders, how much are they paying, what do they try, what do they buy. Our business is entirely relies on just the data that we collect. And for example, when we do wearables today, like a Fitbit or a Jawbone or an Apple Watch, you get a box of wearables to try. If you like them, you send back the box and you'll buy a new one. We measure things like conversions. How many people tried, how many people bought it. We look at how do we go bump up that number. If they didn't really buy anything, why not? What can you do to convince them? Or is it probably a really bad box of wearables? They didn't really like anything that was relevant for them. Measure, test, experiment, try new things all the time. And you will be surprised how much the data tells you that either your assumptions are valid or they're totally incorrect. Like, data does not lie. A lot of us go into these preconceived notions when you start building businesses. You're so focused on building it that you think, this is absolutely going to work, and these are my customers, and this is the age, this is the gender, this is the demographic information of my target audience, this is how the whole system is going to work. You've already assumed all of these, and then you start measuring, and then the data doesn't quite match, and that's when you're stuck in this, what should I trust? Should I trust my instinct? Should I trust the data? What should I do here? For us, one example that happened for us was when we initially started with photography gear. So cameras, lenses, GoPros, stuff like the ones that are being used here to film this. And we expanded to drones. We probably have the largest fleet of drones in San Francisco. We do things like drone workshops. And then we expanded to things like wearables and fitness trackers. And now we are into audio gear, headphones, Sonos, things like that. And with wearables, we initially thought the target audience was going to be predominantly male, because that was our photography audience. We were like, okay, the tech gadget enthusiast, predominantly male, predominantly focused on like San Francisco, like California, New York, that kind of audience. And then we launched the wearables program last January, about a year ago. And a month goes in and we start collecting data. We're like, well, this can't be right. There's something really off about this. And we measure some more. We let it go for another 3 weeks, and we're like, okay. Then we realized that we're about 62% female. That's our wearables audience. And we're also looking at customers from Ohio, Kentucky, Louisiana, Texas. And we're like, who are these people? How are they finding us? How come we were so wrong in our initial assumption? Like, we had built the site, we'd catered to the specific audience, and now the data is telling us something else. And so that was one of our biggest learning, where we said, okay, it doesn't help that we are so much in doubt about who our target audience is, but one thing that's been helpful is to go measure and feed that, whatever you've learned from it back into your system to keep improving, to keep getting better at this. The other thing, and this is again kind of fuzzy, one thing that founders get, and I'm sure a lot of you empathize with this, where you have impartial information. You have data that's not fully complete. You have some data points, but not everything for you to make a decision. How do you make a call? Make a call, move forward. I mean, the thing that will really kill your company, and this is true for me, I don't know how applicable it is for you, is just indecision. The number of days you just postpone and postpone and postpone, and you're like, I'm waiting for this, I need to get this information to make this call, or okay, we don't know whether we should have this other product, maybe we should expand to this new audience, maybe we should go international. You have all these decisions on a daily basis, and it's never easy. Every day is going to be a challenge. Every day you have to make a decision, but make the decision, move on. It's okay to make a decision with certain amount of data, not like the complete full picture, than to not make a call at all. Just keep moving forward, keep pushing forward. It's one thing that's helped me become better, because early days of Lumoid were days where we were like, well, we'll just have to wait. We just don't really know. We just have to like talk to these people, maybe pull up that research report, maybe call up some customers, maybe we should do this customer survey, like maybe we should look at Net Promoter Score, or why don't we like cold call some of these folks, maybe we should talk to our partners. And the more you do this, the more it's like you're never going to have all of the data at any given time. So pick whatever you can, make a decision, move on. You can always come back and try and course correct, but if you don't make a call, you're absolutely in the worst spot. And remember that this is really not, it's not short term. I see founders all the time who'd come up to me and say, well, I'm going to do this, and in 9 months I'm going to hit this goal, and in 2 years I'm going to sell my company, and it's going to be awesome. And great that you have like really ambitious aspirations about what you want to do with your company. But the reality is, even if it's that short amount of time, every day is going to be a challenge. Every day is going to be, it is tough, it is grueling, and I don't mean this in like, oh my God, every day is so, it sucks you guys, like it's horrible, like let's not do a startup kind of thing. This is the most fun I've ever had, but you need to be realistic that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You are going to go at this one day at a time. You are going to like deal with issues on a daily basis, and at some point you'll be at this point where the problems that you had last month are no longer the problems this month. But this month's like a wholly different set of issues, right? It's like you hired somebody and now you're like, great, I'm done with that. That person's going to take care of that. The next month, you have to deal with a different issue that has to do with a complete, like maybe it's engineering versus marketing versus customer support versus operations. Every day is a challenge. Make sure you're mentally prepared for it. One thing I often see is this, we glorify what it is to go build a company. We glorify what it is to go be an entrepreneur. And when people come in, they get this like, this montage sequence in your mind where it's like, you do this stuff and in like 5 months you're there and everyone's like patting you on the back. It's never that simple. Maybe you luck out, maybe it is that way for you, but the reality is for 99% of the companies, that's not realistic. Prepare yourself for like the much longer haul where every day is going to be figuring out specific numbers, experiment, throw new things into your product, figure out what's working. Most of it won't work, reject all of those, pick the ones that are working, do more of that, invest in like specific aspects of marketing, like triage on a daily basis. That's basically what you're going to be doing. And in kind of related to what I just spoke about, there is this whole culture of everyone's crushing it, everyone's killing it, everyone's doing amazingly well. Somehow, no one ever has a bad day building a company at all. And what somebody else's success is might not be relevant for you. What somebody else, like for someone else, it could be that they got some really good press piece and that is their definition of success. For somebody else, it's finding that first paying customer who's not your friend. You know how in the early days when all of your customers are like your friends and family because it's just pity, where they're like, okay, yeah, just go away, I'll give you money, build this thing, just do not talk to me again. And you find that first non-friend, non-family customer, and that's maybe your first win. And for every person, that definition of success is different. Make your own path. Don't rely on what you see on a blog or a news, a piece that you see on like TechMeme or wherever on like what their definition of success is. You don't have to do that. That doesn't mean you don't have to aspire to succeed, but your definition of success doesn't have to be exactly like them. Like, you can be ambitious, you can go build your own rules. Like for us, what we had thought about last year and what we had set up as goals, we realized that we can do much faster. We can go much faster. We can go expand. We can go build new offices. We can go expand into new products. We didn't think we were going to get into audio and headphones and speaker systems. And then we launched it last November, and we went to CES, and it was amazing for us. It just worked out really well. And so our definition of success is different from a totally different company that's right down the street from where we are working. So it's very easy to be like, I'm a founder, you're a founder, what have you done? I'm doing this, who's the most successful? Because we don't really have, like, being a founder is super lonely. We don't have a way to go compare our success or our failures with somebody else. And nobody wants to talk about this, right? Nobody wants a press page that says, it really sucked working here for 2 years. Like, no one's going to do that. So you want to go out and go build and make your own goals happen, and do it at your own pace, do it at what you're comfortable with, and make your own path. And that by itself will help you deal with founder doubt, because maybe your idea is not that great. Maybe you don't have the best team. Maybe the product wasn't that great. Maybe it's just the wrong place at the wrong time. You don't know, but unless you go try it out there, go out, experiment, collect data, keep trying, keep moving forward, keep making decisions, and keep setting goals that are realistic for you, you're never going to find out. That's basically all I have. The last part I wanted to leave you with is something that Jeff Bezos talks about a lot. And we are in e-commerce. We look at other companies like Amazon, it's that small little startup in Seattle. And we look at them, and one of the things that they talk about, which is super relevant for us, focus on the customer and work backwards. You might have a really bad day where something doesn't work, your website's down, your app doesn't work, or your investor passed on you. Whatever you're going through, focus on the customer and adding value to the customer. If you're really solving a problem, that's step one. And from there on, you can start fixing everything else, every other part of the equation, as you go backwards from the customer. And you could be you're building a SaaS business probably, you're building a mobile app, you're building a social networking site. Whatever it is, focus on who your customer base is. It could be a company like mine, it could be mom and pop users, it could be somebody totally different, but find who your customers are, focus on them, solve a real problem for them. And I don't mean this like, well, we are like slightly better than like the status quo kind of thing. Find out why you're truly different or truly better, truly validated compared to like every other product out there, and start there, work backwards, and good things will happen. And whether it is fundraising or whether it is hiring the next set of like awesome people, you're going to find out only if you have that customer whose problem you're really solving. For us, the small anecdote I have is, our initial set of customers were all like my friends and family. They were all like, great, we'll help you, we'll get this off the ground. And YC was super supportive. My entire YC batch came in and tried our product and gave us feedback. It was fantastic. But then we got our first customer who randomly called us because they saw our website, they saw an ad somewhere, and this customer came from Idaho. And I swear, I don't know a single person from Idaho. And I was like, okay, who is this? And they were like, well, we saw this website. Is this a legitimate website? I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, who are you? They're like, well, I want to go try this camera, and I want it for 4 weeks, and it's a 4th of July weekend. Can I place an order? I'm like, of course, yeah, you can. And by this time, I'm like freaking out, right? I'm like, who is this guy? Probably going to scam us off this thing. We'll figure it out. And so he places an order. It's like $400 or something. I'm like, really? Okay, like you trust a no-name startup? Great. Places an order. I don't have that particular item. So I'm like, let's go find it. So I'm driving to Best Buy. I'm buying a camera. We like start putting it in our own packaging, put it in, ship it out. And this is very, very early days, like our first ever customer. And the customer gets it. He's super happy because we were like able to deliver it a day before. We were able to do a bunch of accessories. We gave him like how-tos and videos and stuff like that. And through his 4-week road trip, he's been like taking photos on this camera and just sharing it on Facebook and everywhere else and tagging us. I have no idea how he found us on Facebook, but he tags us and he's like, amazing company, you guys should like try these guys. And our first set of customers all came from Boise, Idaho. And we are like, thank you, but I don't even know who you are. I've never been here. But it was that one customer win that really, really made the difference for us, where we went from thinking, maybe this could work, to like, hell yeah, this is absolutely going to work. We have this one deliriously happy customer. How could we possibly go wrong? And I'm sure you guys have your own versions of darky stories like this. Don't ignore this. This is all real. This is how it is to go build companies. And start with that one customer and work backwards. And you're going to find success by whatever means that is, whatever metrics you set as your success and goals are. Thank you. I think we have 4 minutes for Q&A. Any questions? Oh, go for it.
What were your self-doubts and how did you tackle them?
I'm sorry?
What were your self-doubts and how did you tackle them?
I mean, it was everything from, this is absolutely the worst idea, it's not going to work, to, I mean, for us it was exacerbated because we would literally have investors who would say, you're an amazing founder, but the idea is so bad. Like, you really have to like shut this down and move on. And whatever else you work on, we will invest in, but not this. And we were like, thanks, I guess. This is like the most backhanded compliment I've ever gotten, but I'll take it. Everything from there to, you find this really awesome candidate that you've like tried to go hire, and then they realize that they really want to work for this really cool startup that's been in the headlines a lot, and that's where they see their future and not with you. And you feel so invalidated because you're like, wait, but are we not cool enough? Like, we are also building something really legitimate. And it's everything from like not making the right hires, or in the beginning we had a lot of trouble just making the first set of like awesome candidates to come and join us. And a startup is entirely made of like really good people. I mean, you can have everything else, but if you don't have that top quality people, whether it's like whatever metric, again, if it's like you're looking at Ivy League schools, I don't, for me it's like, what have they done before, how successful have they been, kind of thing. Everything from there to fundraising to, do customers really like this? Are we just like assuming stuff? Or you have like one bad day, some customer didn't get their box on time, FedEx screwed up, they didn't deliver, customer's unhappy, you're unhappy. Every day you go through that in the beginning where some of it is out of your control, but that doesn't really help you. And so you just take it one day at a time, solve the problem, keep moving forward. Anything else, you guys? Oh, there's one person. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you for talking on such a vulnerable subject and really putting it out there. I think that it's not talked about enough. I think what's interesting is we start to talk about how we may doubt ourselves when things are going poorly, yeah. But it can be so impactful when you start doubting yourself when things are going really well. And you start to think that you're maybe in over your head.
The imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
How have you worked through those situations in your own life, and how do you manage these thoughts?
I still go through them. I'm like, when they ask me to come speak here, I'm like, really, me? Like, how low is your bar, you guys? Like, it happens like every day. And you know, a couple of weeks ago, Bloomberg TV was like, why don't you come talk about GoPro results? And I'm like, are you sure? Did you not find anybody else? Like, okay. And then we realized that we're probably the only company out there that has all this data about GoPro sales, because we know exactly who are the people who try it and then who buy it. Why are they not keeping it? Why are they actually using it? We have all kinds of data. And so we realized, okay, some of it might be imposter syndrome, but you do have something here. It is like, honestly, I don't have a solution here. It's like, just like how you have self-doubt, I have these like, are you really sure you've decided to bring me on stage? Like, is this normal? And I go through that all the time as well. And I think it's okay. Earlier I used to be like, oh man, that's not healthy. It's like your self-esteem and all of that. But the reality is this is really hard. Like, no one ever wants to talk about it, but the stuff that you're doing is very lonely. Nobody else is like, there's no yardstick for you to compare, and how do you know if you're doing well or not? So it's not totally a bad thing. If anything, it makes you a little bit more humble, and we could use a lot more humble right now, like right about now. So I'm totally okay with that. If you're like underselling, it's okay, as long as you have a good product, a good company, it's out there. Like, people will find out, and we get people who come to us because we have a really cool service, not because I'm out here talking about self-doubt kind of thing.
Last question, yeah.
Okay, last question.
So thank you so much for the talk. So one big source of a lot of self-doubt when you're doing your own company is not feeling like you have a really clear path forward. So like figuring out, it's not really clear, is this a success or a failure? It's like, okay, this customer really likes this. Is this the future of our company, or are they the exception and we need to go in another direction, or something like that? Do you have any decision-making process, or talking to mentors, or working with your team, or taking time away to think for yourself when you run into those times when you're kind of not sure what the future is going to look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm terrible at taking time away from work. I just don't do it. But that's not what I would recommend for you. I'm sure like vacations are great, but for us, I'm used to looking at data, and a lot of data. That's kind of my background. At Netflix and at Microsoft, a lot of what I built was just recommendation engines and machine learning. So I'm used to looking at vast data sets and then making decisions on those. And it might not be the healthiest thing. And I'm told that there needs to be a trade-off between the emotional side of things and the logical side of things, and making a call not just with data, but with customers will actually use it. But at Netflix, one of the things I really learned was every decision is based on data. Like, what kind of recommended movies would you see based on the movie you watched? Everything else would come from just looking at data and making a call from there. Should you go international? Which country should you expand into? Stuff like that. So for me, it's all about collecting I invest a lot in building a platform for collecting as much data as possible. So there's groundwork that needs to go in. And from there on, it becomes a lot easier, where if I'm one thing that we're thinking about is, should we do Canada for expanding? And the data for us is we look at how many people have reached out and asked whether we are available in Canada, or they put themselves on a wait list kind of thing. So it's not the most concrete set of data that's out there, but you have reasonable amount of data for you to make a call. And I honestly think a lot of these decisions are not going to make or break you. It's I think the fact that you need to go out there and make the decision first, and then maybe you can change or reverse engineer some of this, but you really can't do this, I have to wait for everything kind of thing, or just stay in this limbo, because that really affects the employees at the company, where they're looking at you going, make a call already. I'm just ready to move forward, but I'm just stuck here. What should I do kind of thing. So make a decision with whatever data you have. Right. All right. That's about the time we have, but you know where to reach me. Send me a note. If you hated this talk, I still want to know. Just send me a note. Thank you so much for having me.